It's simply ridiculous we're allowing this. We don't allow cigarette commercials. We don't allow cocaine commercials, which also ruins lives.
That's true. We don't. That's true.
No, it's not. And I don't recommend we do so either.
Back on another episode of Closer Look with Michael Friscolanti. I'm Scott Sexsmith. People still talking about last night's episode. When did Ontario schools become so violent? Keep those comments and the discussion going. But I bet today is going to be a great show.
Yes, this is all about betting today's show. I do before
I'll lobby those softballs all day
for
long.
Sure. And I want to give a shout out to our team in Sudbury, just because you talked about yesterday's show. Hours before our podcast came out, which we had pre-recorded.
Right.
They had done a great piece of investigative journalism doing FOI requests with their local school boards to find out the rate of violence in the Sudbury area. Just a fantastic piece by Heidi Alwerkson, who has been working away on that piece for a few months.
Yeah.
Again, it just happened to come out, and she had mentioned us this morning about, wow, what a great piece of timing that my story landed. Then a few hours later, you guys have this podcast talking about the issue.
Almost made us look smart.
But you know, which is a total fluke. But you know what? It is an issue that people are sounding the alarm bells over. And so I think it's going to get a lot of attention and something we're going to keep reporting on, I'm sure.
And if you haven't seen it, you can check it out at closerlookpodcast.ca or at Closer Look Podcast on YouTube and, of course, across the Village Media Network. Okay, to today's show, sports betting.
Yes, lots in the news this week about gambling ads geared toward children or that at least children are paying attention to, even though they might not be specifically geared for them. And we've talked about this in the past, this idea that sports broadcasts have basically become a forum to talk about sports gambling. There's ads throughout the show, whether it's Connor McDavid or Jamie Foxx or some other celebrity.
It's a 3-hour ad.
Yeah, and even the in-house broadcasters are stopping to tell you the odds of this person getting a hit if it's baseball, for example. And it's disturbing. We've become used to it like a boiling pot of water. And it's kind of happened slowly over time, and we're just like, oh yeah, it's part of the game now. But it is annoying, I think.
Yeah,
and there are the Canadian Medical Association Journal published an editorial in their latest edition talking about the major harms this is having to young people and is going to continue to have to young people, which kind of it's pretty eye-opening.
It is.
So we're going to explore that a little bit with Dr. Shannon Charlebois, who's an editor at the Journal and the co-author of this editorial. Yep. And it's extremely well written. I told her before we started chatting, it's a great editorial. If you care at all about your kids and screens, I think this is an episode you're going to want to listen to.
We're joined tonight on the program by Dr. Shannon Charlebois, the medical editor of the Canadian Medical Association Journal and a family doctor. Dr. Charlebois joins us from Ottawa this evening. Doctor, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, Doctor, you and one of your colleagues wrote an editorial in the latest edition of the Journal calling for restrictions on sports betting ads because they could end up doing major harm to young people. Was there one specific thing that prompted the editorial, or has this been a concern of yours and other doctors for quite some time now?
It's been a concern for quite some time, since even before single-game sports betting was legalized. But I think to jump off the question you asked me, this could cause harms. It is causing harms, and to our young people. Despite age restrictions, we know that young people are gambling anyways. They were doing that before the law was passed. And now that they can bet on every play, every single thing, what jersey the team will be wearing, we know that youth are doing this, and we know that a certain percentage will be doing it to the level of the gambling addiction. Young people are biologically engineered to take risks, to value social status above all else, and these gambling ads are playing right into that.
So tell us about some of the kinds of harms that you're seeing.
So gambling in youth particularly is associated with an increased risk of suicide. That's the big one. Anything else I say comes down to this form of entertainment, as you'll have it, causes loss of lives. And that continues into adulthood. In youth, we see a higher risk of depression, anxiety. Substance use is highly correlated with gambling behaviors, as well as theft, other areas of criminality, including assault charges, and a significant proportion of Canadian youth who are actually incarcerated endorse a history of problem gambling.
Your editorial actually says this kind of advertising insidiously normalizes a harmful activity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is a great way to put it. Can you speak to that?
We're now raising a generation of children suddenly, and I don't think to give anyone credit, we understood the impact when these laws were passed. But we're now raising a generation of children who associate normal sports spectatorship, sports being a healthy activity, good for the body, the mind, social interactions. They're now completely entwined in the minds of our young people with gambling behaviors, which are associated with harms. My kids, when I'm watching a hockey game with them, are as likely to comment on the odds being presented or the ads that show people at parties having fun on boats or whatever it is, as they are about the game itself. So it's seen as an augmentation of watching a sports game. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. And as a nation, I think we've had enough.
It's true, right? It feels like it's been a boiling pot of water. We just kind of watched this happen in the last couple of years. But you watch any sports game now, and it seems like every half inning in the baseball game, they're telling you what the odds are of this guy getting a hit. Yep. It has just become so normalized, as you say. And kids are watching this. I'm watching it with my kids too, and you're wondering, what are they seeing? I guess what I'm wondering too, Doctor, is it has translated, because you also hear the horror stories about kids now getting on these apps that they're seeing the commercials for and using them. It's part of, you talk about social media addiction, these gambling apps are a major problem. What are you seeing in that?
So with respect to the app, that's where we know a lot of this is happening. It's not the same thing as a kid walking into a casino, which has some more barriers. Mm-hmm. But a kid getting on a smartphone saying, yes, I'm 19, I'm borrowing their parents' credit card, that we are seeing to major financial effects on families, for one. Mm-hmm. Then teenagers get into borrowing money from places they shouldn't be borrowing it from, and we get into all of the things I've already addressed. The pathologic addiction to technology that we're seeing in our young people. There's also equivalence there. Even if you're not a sports person, you can be a gaming person. And we're seeing all these video games where they're gambling on these loot boxes or whatever you want to call them, where they're paying for chances in video games. They're playing to enter online tournaments. This focus on the exchange of money over a smartphone at the drop of anything, 24 hours a day, kids could be doing this and their parents won't know. The bigger problem, of course, is that, yes, this is affecting youth, but then these youth grow up. And then we're bringing in a whole other population cohort where already the fastest growing cohort of gambling addiction was in 16 to 24-year-olds in Canada. Can you imagine now that we've raised kids for the last 4 years to intertwine these two ideas, how much more dire that situation will become, and we will not have the resources to deal with it, and lives will be destroyed because of this.
Doctor, let's talk about the possibility of banning the ads. Is that even on the table, or is there just far too much money at stake?
So, in terms of money, since the Ontario government passed a law in 2022 saying iGaming was legal, they made $1.4 billion. Wow. There's money on the table, especially by jurisdiction. So what we need is a federal law. Absolutely. The Bill 211 is now before Parliament. That passed its second reading in the House back in June. It is ready to go. That needs to be expedited and passed now. What that bill will do is call and allow for a federal level of regulation on the broadcasters, on the advertisers themselves, to ensure that harms to those at risk, in particular youth, are minimized. Mm-hmm. How far that will go to solve this problem, I don't know, because what we need is complete elimination of these ads from where minors will see them.
Exactly. How do you minimize it? What would be a potential solution? Like, would you put fewer commercials, what would you do?
So if you want to look to some comparator countries, England has whistle-to-whistle ban. It's not enforced across all sports, but at least for football, between the whistle, first whistle of the game, last whistle of the game, there can be no advertising that children are going to see. That's one strategy. I completely feel that until 9 p.m., by definition, there should be no sports betting ads. Mm-hmm. It's simply ridiculous we're allowing this. We don't allow cigarette commercials. We don't allow cocaine commercials, which also ruins lives.
That's true. We don't. That's true.
No, it's not, and I don't recommend we do so either. But it's just so confusing for kids that we've got to get rid of this. Ontario passed a law saying no more celebrities in ads. Within days, you had Connor McDavid on TV there saying, "Oh, well, we can game responsibly." Well, we don't do cocaine responsibly, so I don't understand how that's not just directly circumventing the law. we have studies after studies that show that this idea of harm reduction in gambling does not work. It's not effective. Any sort of self-imposed restrictions you place on your own apps can be gotten around within minutes.
Doctor, how much blame do you put on someone like Connor McDavid, or I see Jamie Foxx doing these ads, Wayne Gretzky? What would you say to them if you had a chance?
You know, a check is a check. These people are good at what they do. What they do is hockey and not ethics. If they don't do it, somebody else will do it. I'm not impressed with them, and I would give them a good tongue lashing if I had them in front of me, but Wayne has yet to give me an audience.
Have you tried?
Yeah, several times. But anyways, not picking up his phone, that man. So I placing blame on individuals, I don't think will get us anywhere, although I'm all for naming and shaming at the same time. But that's not really a question that I think we can carry a lot of weight in. We need federal laws.
You know, I wonder how much, Gretzky and McDavid are great examples, right? Because, Connor, clean cut, greatest player in the league right now. Gretzky, Canadian legend. Do the marketers almost think that by using people like that, it's going to be an easier sell because of who they are?
Of course they do. That's why they're paying them. And it must be exorbitant sums of money. And I think at the end of the day, we all have to be very clear that profit is coming because the house always wins, because these companies are profiting the most off people who are having severe repercussions. They're not making money off the guy who occasionally places $5 on something. They're making money off the person who keeps gambling despite negative consequences. And I think it is incumbent ethically and morally upon individuals to recognize that. These individuals we've mentioned and others are heroes to children. And with that, whether they ask it or not, comes some personal responsibility.
Mm-hmm. You talk about revenue too. It's like you mentioned, the government's making huge revenues on this as well. Great line from your editorial. Allowing glaring and ubiquitous promotion of sports betting is a willful mortgage of Canada's future to the interests of private profit and tax revenue. Can you speak to that?
So we're looking at a situation that is harming people already. It's harming children. It's harming many adults. If we have populations where in Norway, they had a 14-year record of everyone who had a sports betting addiction, a betting addiction of any kind. And the number one cause of death was suicide. These are known risks. I've seen lives destroyed. The most at risk are lower socioeconomic status individuals, poorer individuals, males in rural environments, kids who are coming from unstable homes, kids who are being bullied. We're setting them up for failure along their life course, and there will be economic and social fallout from that. Increased crime is bad the last time I checked, and we know that's what this will lead to. So to do that and say, but we're making so many billions of dollars in tax profit, that will be offset completely by the harms done, both in the individual, but more importantly, perhaps, the population level.
Doctor, it took decades to have adjustments and changes made to both alcohol and tobacco advertising, and it's clear that gambling is the new that. And this will likely take decades to change. Hopefully not, but it likely will. So what does a win look like from your perspective?
Well, a total win would be get rid of any ads for gambling altogether on television, the same way we've gotten rid of cigarettes and we've gotten rid of Tony the Tiger. If we can overcome the mighty Tony the Tiger, how hard can the gambling corporations be? But an absolute, I'd take a draw on no ads before 9 p.m.
Mm-hmm. So it's a small victory, I suppose. What about the idea that, I guess the thing that bugs me too is I just feel like, and this is hard to speak to, but it's just ruined sports for me. Like it's the idea that some of these networks are actually named, that I'm watching the broadcast on, are named after sports betting, sports betting companies. Yeah. It's like sports, like you mentioned earlier, is supposed to be that one thing where the kids do it for the right reasons. They're engaged. They gain friendships, the competition, the idea that you learn to win and learn to lose too. All those things. It's just been hijacked by these gambling ads. Am I right on that, Doctor? Should I feel that way?
Right. It hasn't ruined it for you, so you're still watching.
Yeah.
So as we all are, it's intertwined with our national identity. It's intertwined with all things good. So coming from an athletic family, my brother was an elite hockey player. He's disgusted by all of this. And if you want to talk about personal responsibility, you should give him a call up.
He's coming on next as soon as we hang up.
Good. Well, you tell him to watch his mouth, that Jimmy Keith.
We're no stranger to bad language, Doctor. Before we let you go, anything else about your editorial or anything else on this topic that we didn't cover that you'd like to?
No, I think we've covered it all. The one thing I would add is that for parents who are not wholly responsible to be able to keep their children from doing this, because teenagers are autonomous beings, but for parents to keep an eye on that media, screen time, we're not allowing, if you can know what your kid's looking at, if you can make sure that there's no internet after 9 p.m. at bedtime, limit as much as you can that screen use, because we just don't know what the effects are going to be over the next 20, 60 years of this whole generation growing up with technology.
You make a good point. I don't mean to add to that. I know that was the last question Scott asked, but as a parent, I'm feeling that same pressure. We fight that battle every day.
It's hard.
It's hard,
very
right?
hard.
And I feel like, I guess I want you to encourage parents out there that it's okay to fight that battle, because I feel like a lot of them have just given up.
Yeah.
And I have 3 kids. Nothing, I am not holding myself up to be a saint here either. But we didn't grow up with this. It's in the book, The Anxious Generation, we're doing the equivalent, this writer says, of sending our kids to Mars on a one-way trip. Mm-hmm. We don't know what this is going to do to their brains, but we know it's not good. So every minute of screen time you can claw back from your kid, that's wonderful until society as a whole, until we get together and figure out a solution to that element of, that's our kids' world. And it's absolutely terrifying.
All right, there's Dr. Shannon Charlebois, the medical editor of the Canadian Medical Association Journal and a family doctor, joining us from the nation's capital tonight. Doctor, good of you to spend some time with us. We appreciate it.
So much fun with it.
Thank you. What's funny is Dr. Charlebois was talking. I was thinking back to a couple of weeks ago. We were at a Jays game, and the younger fellas in front of us, on their phones, placing bets, not even paying attention to what's going on the field.
So they're sitting at the stadium and they're not
at the stadium in $80, $90, $100 seats,
trying to win their money back.
Could
you tell what they were betting on? Were they betting on the pitch, the specific batter, probably, right?
So I didn't want to look like a creeper because that's weird. I couldn't tell eyesight, the whole thing.
Old age.
But yeah, a lot of that. But just constantly, submit.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I've never seen a specific figure on how much the provincial government is pocketing because of all this legal gambling that's going on. But as Doctor said, it's over the $1 billion mark. It's just an exorbitant amount of money. And I guess once you start getting into those figures, you can see why you kind of let some things go. But it is a big concern. And you hate to be always sounding the alarm saying, yeah, but the young people, it's gonna really ruin the young people. You don't like to always be saying the same thing. But the reality is, it is impacting young people, right?
Of course it is.
They are, they're using these apps. They're betting money they don't have, right? And it's causing some serious damage. And they're seeing it in their doctor's offices. They're having families come in and talk about the damage that's being done by these apps. And, I'm torn about it too, because I'm not one to, pass judgment on Connor McDavid or Jamie Foxx or whoever else is doing these commercials. No. It's a free world. Free economy, capitalist country. You want to make money doing that kind of stuff, you're free to do it. But I wonder if they sit for a moment and think about what the consequences are, right? I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. Maybe
they just cash the check. But you got to wonder how much they're being paid, because you know how much they're worth.
Yeah.
So what's it worth to them, to endorse something that is doing the kind of harm that, the doctor says is happening?
It's got to be worth something. And they're good commercials. That one he does with the guy who can't control himself with all the bobbleheads and the Zamboni in the backyard, it's a great ad. That's why it works so well. The other thing I wonder too is, if this stuff is so popular and all these people are using it, how many commercials do you need? Like, they should actually do as we say around here a lot, kind of test it out. If they did have that whistle-to-whistle ban.
That's a great concept.
Yeah, let's say for the whole hockey game, there were no ads. Would there be fewer bets placed? I don't think so. People who are doing that, or they know it exists, they're into it, they'll be doing it no matter what.
Don't know. Good point, though. We should test it.
Anyways, brought to you by, what's our show brought to you by? Bet365? No, I'm just kidding. It's not.
No, it's not. Friday on the show, Pete Hoekstra, U.S. Ambassador to Canada.
Yes.
Looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show. And, of course, coming up this weekend, the Liberal Party of Ontario, with its annual general meeting, tomorrow. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. Just to remind everybody, we in the summer on the show, we had both Bonnie Crombie on one day talking about why she should stay on as Liberal leader. Yeah. Nate Erskine-Smith, one of the people who's calling for her to step aside, one of leading the charge on that, was also on the show talking about that. You can find both episodes on closerlookpodcast.ca or on YouTube.
And the last numbers I saw, it looks like it's evenly split as to whether or not Crombie's going to stay.
Yeah, we're going to talk some more about that tomorrow for sure. But it looks very, very close and probably a lot closer than Bonnie's team would have preferred.
All right. Both the Jays and Tigers are playing tonight, so we got to get out of here and play some bets on who's going to win.
Half a game separates them for first place in the American League.
It's going to be a dogfight. Looking forward to it.
Odds are subject to change.
Yes, they are. And please gamble responsibly. Closerlookpodcast.ca is where you can find us on YouTube as well at Closer Look Podcast and all over social media. For Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media, I'm Scott Sexsmith. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.